I like my meat tight. Tighten up my meat.
Amazing.
I'm sick of all these witches and warlocks.
I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. It's Friday. I'm here. We got a show today. We've got a lot of news, a lot of fun stuff today. Actually, great show for you all. We have, of course, Republicans blaming Biden for not getting Republican votes on the stimulus. It's a fascinating story. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Enjoy that. Stacey Dash turns on Trumpism. That's an interesting story. We got more details on the effort to go after Trump by flipping Allen Weisselberg. So this is interesting. I don't know. I think they're trying to shame him or something. It's a really interesting story here. Fun times. So we're going to talk about how Trump hit on people during a funeral. And we're showing nudie pictures of him with models. It's some really crazy stuff. Fun. We got Governor Cuomo, of course. Accusations, and he responded to it. And we've got just a whole mess of this Andrew Cuomo stuff. So really, really interesting story. And then for fun, we're going to talk about that Uber driver that was attacked and the latest updates on that, as far as I know. So that's fun. We got good stories. Before we dive into it, already got some super chats here, but hey, so please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very helpful if you do so. Helps us greatly do more wonderful things. In fact, one of the reasons that I was off yesterday is I was setting up some equipment, and I have a mixer, and I'm working on setting up a mix minus setup. Those of you who are familiar with what that means, awesome. Those of you who are not, just say that it will. Just know that it will make like interviews and stuff a lot easier, and so I don't have to like go through a bunch of extra steps to do that stuff. So again, that's a really big way to help us out. In fact, I do want to read that super chat that just came in. Dango Bagel says that Andrew Cuomo is a competent Trump. If anything, he's our version of Stalin. Ooh, whoa, that's some. That's a characterization that I didn't think about. I definitely thought about the Trump one, but did not think of Stalin. Interesting. But thank you for that. Crazy Hawaiian and PA, thank you for subbing 4 months tier 1. Much appreciated over here on Twitch. So hey, share. Helps us out again greatly. All right. Let's move it. Let's get going. We got a salty Republican here. As if there's any other kind. All right. With the signing of the first COVID relief bill under President Joe Biden, having happened, of course, yesterday, which will deliver $1,400 stimulus checks along with $300 expanded unemployment benefits, a child tax credit. It's pretty impressive. You also have additional money for states, additional money for vaccines, etc. This happened. This passed under a strictly party line vote. Now, after that happened, Fox guest and Wall Street Journal editorial board member Kim Strassel went after Biden for the fact that it wasn't bipartisan enough. So that's interesting. Let's see what she has to say about it.
We actually had 5 COVID bills prior, and every one of them under the last administration, and every one of them bipartisan, resoundingly bipartisan. This is the first COVID bill that we've passed done entirely on a party line. How does that count for unity? Now, the press is going to call it that, and they're going to say it's great and it helps, but this is one of the problems that Molly just described, which is when you go down the road of propaganda, it's not just that you're not being true to all of your readers and watchers out there, but you become part of the propaganda, and then your own reputation rests on keeping up the falsehoods. We saw this with Russia collusion too. When you bought into it, pretty soon the press couldn't back down from it because they knew to do so would undermine themselves. And so they propped up Biden all during the campaign, and now they have to make it sound as though he's delivering on these promises, even though the facts simply show otherwise.
All right, so that's an interesting pretzel to tie yourself up in, all in order, of course, to attack Biden and the Democrats. Look, Fox News is going after Biden pretty unsuccessfully, I have to add. And I'm not saying that because I'm a fan of Joe Biden. I'm just saying that those attacks are not resonating with anyone outside of the Trump base, and of course outside of some progressives who are also like have Biden derangement syndrome. And so anyway, that said, that's what's going on in Fox News. But overall, he's got like over a 60% approval rating, or at least up to 60% in some polls, mid 50s or so in others. And so actually, the country thinks he's doing right now a fairly good job. But that's not on Fox News. They're really going after Biden unsuccessfully, but they're also harping on the cancel culture stuff. And so now this pretzel that she's tied herself in, it's extra salty. And so I'm gonna kind of break it down. So now it is true that Joe Biden ran on bipartisanship. that's one of the reasons that I, as a progressive, not exactly happy with it. Because right now, the Republican Party, as it stands, you can't work with them because all they want to do is basically block everything. Okay, they're not interested in governing. They're not interested in governing. It's also a fact that the bill had to be passed by budget reconciliation. Due to that fact, in fact, budget reconciliation was used to bypass a filibuster. The fact that this was guaranteed to be filibustered by Republicans is a problem. It is the problem. Okay, it's not even a discussion that we're having, right? The automatic assumption is, well, obviously Republicans are going to block it. Republicans are saying, yeah, of course we're going to filibuster it. Oh, all right. Well, okay. And of course, why is that the assumption? Well, look at the record. No Republicans voted for this. No Republicans were interested in voting for this. And before you say that it's because Democrats didn't reach out, well, you're wrong. Democrats bend over backwards to try to include Republicans on everything. Biden would have loved nothing more than to get Republican votes. He loves this. He's like, oh, bipartisan. I love bipartisanship. Republicans, what do you want? What do you want? We'll give it to you. We'll drop $15 minimum wage. Okay, we'll drop this. We'll drop that. Please vote for this so that I can say bipartisanship. And of course, that's they did. They pulled out a lot of more forward proposals in order to try to get Republican votes. It's funny. I wonder how many of the same Republicans, by the way, cried about bipartisanship. You know, when they decided to jam tax cuts for the rich through reconciliation. I'm sure a lot of Republicans were like, no, we shouldn't do that. We should reach out to Democrats. No, they didn't. Or, you know, I wonder how many Republicans cried about the lack of bipartisanship when Trump decided to do all those executive orders to kick out trans people from the military and remove temporary protective status from DACA recipients. Did they cry about not reaching out to Democrats? No, of course not. Of course not. So you see the hypocrisy here, okay? Especially when Strasso mentions the COVID bills under Trump, which actually were bipartisan. And they were bipartisan. There's a reason for that. It's because Democrats went along because it actually did do something for the American people. And Democrats did not block them for political reasons. They tried to put as much good stuff into those bills as they could, even taking better stuff out, as I said, to get Republicans on board. And it didn't work. Obviously, it didn't work because it never works. Because Republicans are not a party that is interested at all in governing or doing anything. Again, $15 minimum wage got stripped out of the bill. Okay, no Republicans were going to vote for it. None. In fact, you even had, you know, people who claim to be Democrats that really are not Democrats that also decided that they were not going to vote for it. Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin mainly. Okay, and so not only that, but they took the $1,400 instead of $2,000. Now, Trump himself, it is true that Trump wanted to do $2,000 in the last round of stimulus before. Now, Republicans, of course, laughed it off. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to give poor people $2,000. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? No. We're not going to do that. And of course, Donald Trump wanted to do that because he at least kind of tries to understand populism a little bit. And it has no actual core conservative values. He just wanted to do, in this case, what was popular enough to try to get him reelected. And it didn't work, of course. But anyway, all this bending over backward, all this taking these bills out or these amendments out is to try to get Republican votes. And the reason that they didn't vote for it, as I said before, is that they are not a real political party. They are a reactionary movement. And so they only passed these two stimulus bills because, the Republicans, as I mentioned, during the Trump administration, only passed the two coronavirus stimulus bills because the donors wanted it. For one, the donors were screaming at them, don't let the stock market fall. Okay, you're going to pass these COVID relief bills because stonks. And of course, because they wanted to win re-election. They were in power, and they were going to be blamed if it didn't pass. Now Republicans are in the minority, Democrats are in charge, and the result is, of course, constant blockage. And by the way, as critical as I have been of this bill, the fact that we don't have $2,000 recurring checks, the fact that we didn't include a $15 minimum wage when we should have been able to through reconciliation, the fact of the matter is, it's still a decent bill. It's still a good bill. It will help people. My criticism is, again, thanks to this whole attempt at bipartisanship, which always continues to fail, is that even though there is good stuff in it, it didn't go far enough. And that's just not my opinion. That's also the opinion of experts, people who, economists that are like, no, you don't understand. You can't go too big. You can't go too big. You have to go bigger. And yet this bill was actually smaller than the Republican package proposed under Donald Trump. And so, I mean, come on. What I would have included, of course, is $2,000 a month recurring checks until summer, retroactive to the start of the pandemic, of course, student loan cancellation, $15 minimum wage, all that stuff. And so, but overall, like, hey, I'm happy with it. It's not bad. It's incomplete. It's incomplete. And it's not like the Democrats decided to sneak in hey, let's put more money to bomb Yemen in there, okay? And as for that charge, of course, that Democrats were putting stuff into the bill that wasn't COVID related, Republicans, if you're making that accusation, sit down. Republicans trying to put an amendment to repeal the estate tax for the ultra wealthy. Come on. You play that game too. Sit down, F off. Again, the point is, decent bill, good bill, glad it passed. We should continue to do more to help the American people. But since Democrats are in charge, the Republicans, they're voting against it. And that's it. They don't care about the voters, who, by the way, their base, even though that they would be helped by the provisions that I were talking about, as well as the actual bill itself that passed, they will still hate this. Of course they will. Because Fox News hates it. And because Fox News and the base hates it, the politicians hate it. Everyone hates it because, well, it all comes back to Republicans' true ideology. And that is owning the libs, owning Biden at all costs. All right. How do we pay for everything? You still have infrastructure, Green New Deal, healthcare, etc. It's this thing called deficit spending. You can actually do it. It doesn't, at this point, deficit spending would be a giant boon for the economy to get all that stuff. Green New Deal, healthcare would actually increase the level of jobs by millions of jobs. And so really, quote unquote, pay for things, since we do have a fiat currency and we're able to just basically print money out of thin air. I mean, it's not really a concern. Inflation, also not really a concern at this juncture. And you can, and I would suggest that anybody who is, familiar or who isn't familiar with the economics of the issue and how we're able to pay for things and do these big, giant programs, I would look up Stephanie Kelton. And so she's an incredible economist. And she pretty much explains how it works and how we're able to do all this stuff. So if you're curious about that. All right, moving on. Let's go to our second story. It appears that even after so many years, Stacey Dash is a bit clueless. But maybe she's getting a little better. Maybe. That's really up to you to judge. All right. So now, according to media, the actress and former Fox News pundit Stacey Dash has decided to walk back a little bit of her support of former President Donald Trump, and she also decided to apologize for some of her past behavior and some of her mistakes. Now, for me, I'm a bit skeptical. Okay, but if it's true that she is no longer interested in Trumpism and it, feels bad for the things that she's done, okay. Oh, interesting. All right. Now, the article notes that although best known for playing Dion in the 1995 hit Clueless, I'm actually old enough to know that movie. I'm dating myself a little bit here. By the way, imagine that being your main claim to fame here. All right. Dash has since served as a political commentator for Fox News, which he now claims cast her as the angry conservative black woman, and even ran for Congress in California back in 2018. In a Wednesday interview with the Daily Mail, Dash revealed that she's made a lot of mistakes when she joined the Fox News team and apologized for lacking empathy. Let me show you a little snippet of that, and then we'll talk about it, and then I'll probably show you more. Take a look.
I've lived my life being angry. Which was what I was on Fox News. I was the angry, conservative black woman. And at that time in my life, it was who I was.
Okay. So here's the thing about Fox News, all right? Fox News loves to cast people of color and members of the LGBTQ plus community, which she's not, but overall, that's what they like to do, right? And they use them to basically attack those respective communities. It's what they've done for a very, very long time, because then their logic is that anti-LGBTQ plus or racist opinions aren't so bad if they're coming from a gay man or a black woman, etc. All right. So now, of course, that's not true at all. It just exposes somebody who's basically willing to sell themselves out for a sweet, sweet Fox News paycheck. But nonetheless, she is going to continue talking about this and basically, again, the mistakes that she had made. Take a look.
And I realized in 2016 that anger is unsustainable and it will destroy you. And what people don't know is that I made a lot of mistakes. And because of that anger, being a supporter of Trump, has put me in some kind of box that I do not belong in. I don't hate anyone. I don't, I don't know where that comes from. And, he's not the president. So I'm going to give the president that we have right now a chance.
Oh, you're going to give the president we have a chance. I made mistakes. I made lots and lots of mistakes. By the way, what's with the music? I didn't add that. That was added. The Daily Mail, what are you doing? Daily Mail. That's all who she would talk to, apparently. But she continued. There's more to this. She added that they were very arrogant and prideful and angry, and that's who Stacey was. But that's not who Stacey is now. Stacey's someone who has compassion and empathy. Wait, why is she talking in the third person? That bothers me. That bothers Jeff. Jeff is very bothered when people are, talking in the third person like that. Jeff is just very, very frustrated. Okay. Anyway, so now, what are the things that she's talking about that she's actually allegedly apologizing for? So let's go to when she went after women for calling out the pay gap. So now Dash, speaking in an interview with Meredith Vieira, claimed that she didn't want to be a victim when asked her thoughts about closing the pay gap and suggested that women should just work harder. Okay. That's interesting. Not long after that interview, Dash appeared on her own Fox News show, Outnumbered, and suggested that women were to blame for their pay discrepancies because they accepted jobs that weren't in line with their value. Quote, be a better negotiator. Know your value. So look, the pay gap is interesting because it's very nuanced. Okay. And so is there like a phenomenon where, women sometimes take careers that pay less in some cases? Yeah. I think that does happen. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But what we're talking about here with the pay gap really is the issue where you have women and men that are doing the same job, and the women are getting paid less for it. Women do make 81 to 86 cents compared to every dollar that a man makes. That's a problem. And again, there's a little bit of nuance to that, but generally what we're talking about is people in the same career fields getting paid less. So that's a problem, all right? And so now she's talking about, well, just be a better negotiator. Well, how are you supposed to do that if you don't know what other people in your field are making? Okay? And so here's the thing. A lot of companies have something called a pay secrecy rule. Okay. So now that's actually illegal under the law. You can't really enforce that, but a lot of companies still will put something like that in the books. Hey, you really shouldn't ask your coworkers what you make, what they make, and compare it. You shouldn't do that. That's real, like that's passe. Just don't do that. Don't do that. Right. Now, a lot of this again is discouraged. Some companies put it in the handbooks, even though it is illegal. And if you're a worker and you don't follow politics, you might not know that pay secrecy rules are actually outlawed. In fact, the National Labor Relations Act of 1935 made talking about pay legal in the American workplace. Even if an employee signs an NDA with an employer, he or she still has the legal right to discuss pay with coworkers and others. Not only that, but in 2014, President Barack Obama has signed an executive order for non-retaliation for disclosure of compensation information, saying that if a company retaliates against you for actually talking with your employee, a fellow employee, how much they make, that's illegal. They can't do that. And they'll get punished. But again, there's a lot of people that don't actually know this. And workplaces obviously don't want you to know it or discuss it, because it turns out when they pay women less or just workers less, they end up making more. It's just pure greed. And so it's kind of a shitty thing to say to women, well, just being a better negotiator, work harder. That, women sometimes in the workplace are, and I've seen these, studies, these sociological studies, where women who are confident in the workplace and they ask, well, no, they're uppity, they're bitchy. God, I can't, they don't like assertiveness out of women in the workplace. So, I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. Okay. Telling them to just work harder and do all that. All right. But there's more. Stacey Dash also is in favor of cancel culture. But this time she wanted to cancel Black History Month. Here's what she told Fox News. And again, because she's a black person, she can get away with that. If a white person said that on Fox News, I mean, obviously the outrage would be gigantic. But Fox News thought, oh, no. It's a black person saying this, so we can get away with that. So here's what she said. Either we want to have segregation or integration. And if we don't want segregation, then we need to get rid of channels like BET and the BET Awards and the NAACP Image Awards, where you're only awarded if you're black. If it were the other way around, we would be up in arms. It's a double standard. There shouldn't be a Black History Month. We're Americans, period. All right. There's a lot of problems with that one. Okay. Now, for one, the reason that we actually have Black History Month and not a White History Month is because black people, as a result of the transatlantic slave trade, chattel slavery, basically had their entire history stolen from them, erased. forced into slavery, forced into Christianity. They can't really tell you what country or part of Africa that their families had originated from before slavery. That entire history completely erased, gone. That's why you have to have a Black History Month in this country to celebrate the history that they do have in this country. And that history, of course, is deeply involved in the fight for equal rights in this country. All right. So now White History Month, however, that is considered racist because, again, white people, we can go back and we can trace our history, back to, for example, my family's Austrian. Okay. We have a coat of arms going back to at least 1400. All right. So I can go and I can be proud of that history. I can be proud that my family, Austrian pride, Germanic peoples, right? I can be proud of that heritage. That's where I came from. And that's not the same as being proud to have been born with less melanin in my skin. All right. And by the way, having certain advantages as a result of that. So there is a huge difference here. Okay. And again, speaking of racism, following the 2017 Charlottesville rally, Stacey Dash also supported Trump's claim that there were, quote, very fine people on both sides. Now, on one of the sides, you can recall, one of them was chanting, "The Jews will not replace us." Okay. Right. Those are, very fine people. Those are the very fine people, sure. Yes, of course. Now, in addition, she also backed the idea that Mexican immigrants were both criminals and rapists. They're not sending their best. That's what Donald Trump had said. All right. So now apparently all that stuff was fine for Stacey Dash. Oh, she was all up in there. She loved it. She loved it. She loved it. But that's until, of course, the attack on the Capitol. Here's what she said there. When that happened, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm truly done. Because senseless of violence of any kind, I denounced. What happened on January 6th was just appalling and stupid. I'm not a victim of anyone. Working for Fox at the time, that was my job. I did my job the place I was at. Stacey now would never work at Fox, would never work for a news network or be a news contributor. And of course, there's reasons for that. By the way, there was one more thing. She is, of course, massively anti-trans. And so, she was arguing in favor of the bathroom bills and was saying, trans people, they just go pee in a bush. Ridiculous, right? Hateful person. But all right. Anyway, so that's just some of the hits, right? But now she's really sorry about that stuff. And she desperately wants the Black community to take her back. I don't believe her. Do you believe her? I think she's full of crap. And I think that she is sorry for the things that she said because it's hurt her career. I think she's also maybe a little bit sorry that after all these years of prostrating herself in front of white supremacists for a paycheck, didn't pan out into a good political career for herself. But she still ended up making money. And so I think she's sorry for all the wrong reasons and is actually trying to rehabilitate her image without actually changing any of her views. Again, she's like, well, I'm going to give Biden a chance. I'm going to give this a chance. But you were still with Trump and you're still generally still a conservative. Now, look, if I'm wrong, I'll be happy to be wrong. Maybe she has had the beginnings of an awakening and that maybe that should be nurtured. But of course, the reason it should be nurtured because at the end of the day, you should be a better person. That's good. But for me, if you're willing to take a paycheck to punch down at people for years, well, it's going to take a lot more to convince people that you're not the same type of person, especially since you made such a fat living off of it for such a long time. So, all right. Moving on. Let's go to Trump. Take her back. She betrayed herself. that's up to her community. It really is. Now, the case against former President Donald Trump in New York is continuing to heat up as investigators are attempting to get more information from people who are in Trump's orbit, close confidants, important figures inside of the Trump organization. In fact, investigators in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, that's the office of Cy Vance, who has been looking into the Trump organization, have recently debriefed Jennifer Weisselberg. Now, she is a former daughter-in-law of Trump accountant Alan Weisselberg, very, very important CFO of the Trump organization. So now prosecutors are actually trying to flip him against his longtime boss. This is according to a report in the New Yorker. So now the question here is, will they be successful? Will they be able to, and how can they actually do it? So now Michael Cohen, who flipped on Donald Trump, thinks, oh no, just threaten their sons with jail. Okay, well, I mean, if they did anything, sure. But as far as that goes, I mean, as far as anything else, how do you do it? Well, that's why they talked to Jennifer Weisselberg. So now, one reason that I think that they're trying to do it is to try to point out how terribly Weisselberg has actually been treated by Donald Trump, and they give a pretty good example here. So now, according to this report, Trump had went to something called a Sat Shiva, or a Sat Shiva. And let's see. During this, Trump showed off nude photos and made passes at family members. Now, I'm not Jewish. I had to look this up. And it turns out it's actually even worse than I had thought. A Sat Shiva refers to the act of sitting on low stools during times of mourning. Now, it lasts about a week, and it's basically a funeral for first-degree relatives. And while you're having this funeral, you've got President Trump showing off photographs. Well, I don't know if he was president at the time, to be fair, but he was showing off photographs of himself with models, naked women, on a yacht to attendees before hitting on Jennifer Weisselberg. So, okay, interesting. Now, when he did that, Alan apparently humored Trump instead of actually standing up for her. So that's nice. Not only that, but when he arrived to the funeral, he apparently said, quote, "This is where my CFO lives? Embarrassing." You know, it's embarrassing. It's being a bitch for Trump. A little bitch. I mean, allowing him to insult your family and hit on your daughter-in-law, that's creepy. Super, super creepy. And actually pathetic. Republicans love calling people soy boy, beta male cucks. I think that's not cool to call people that. There's nothing wrong with soy boys. I don't care. Beta males, whatever. You want to be a cuck? That's totally fine. Do you, right? That's your business, not mine. I actually think that those people got way more respect for themselves than Weisselberg showed for himself. And plus, they actually had the benefit of getting off on it. So, but this guy, apparently he likes being treated like trash by Donald Trump. It's ridiculous. And so here's what Jennifer had to say about it. Quote, "His whole worth is, does Donald like me today? It's his whole life, his core being. He's obsessed." How sad. She added, "He has more feelings and adoration for Donald than for his wife." Interesting. Very interesting. In fact, she also added, "You walk down the hall, it's Alan Donald. They don't do anything separately." Now, Alan would know everything. And that's why this is important. That's why prosecutors are really trying to flip this guy. Because, again, he's the CFO. He knows all the dirty, shady dealings. And now, from her perspective, she added one more thing. She said, "I don't know, for Donald, it's a business, but for Alan, it's a love affair." So, I mean, that makes me think that maybe they're barking up the wrong tree, these investigators. I mean, I hope they can flip him because he would know if there were dirty details. I think there are. I think they're quite dirty. I think there's probably money laundering, racketeering, payoff, tax evasion, all these financial crimes. But I don't know for certain. But that's, I mean, to me, that's what it looks like. I would be surprised if there wasn't. But from what it looks like, they might actually have to find something else, find something more than just the rank disrespect of this guy's family and his religion to flip him. That's just me. All right. I'm going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back. We've got a couple more stories here. We got Cuomo and then a little bit of fun. So stay right here. Be right back around the nation.
I will eat your ass. Every goddamn thing out of you people's mouths doesn't come true.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Oh, Round the Nation right here, Waldorf Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. So, all right, let me read some super chats. There's quite a few here. All right, let's see. If New York turns red, it's because of Cuomo. U.S. education says 60% is failing. Yeah, well, okay, but like facts and stuff have nothing to do with politics, obviously. Facts and reality, right? So, yeah, 60% though for politics, that actually is a lot better. It shouldn't be, but it is what it is. All right, so let's see. How's vaccination going where I'm at? Not too bad, actually. Not too bad. All right. Not too bad. Let's move on. Let's go to Cuomo. Oh, actually, you know what? Sorry. Got a couple of things here. Thank you, Granite Dragon, for subscribing and for 5 months at Tier 1. Appreciate that. Crazy YNPA. I already gave you a shout out, so thank you for that. All right. Now let's do it. Embattled New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is refusing to step down following a 7th claim of sexual misconduct. Wow. Now, these include allegations that Cuomo had groped an aide in the governor's mansion, an issue what has been turned over to Albany police for possible criminal investigation. In fact, there's a lot of talk about impeachment and a lot of people calling on Cuomo to resign. So now, according to the New York Times, the latest incident involved an unidentified staffer who was working with Mr. Cuomo at the mansion where the governor lives, according to the Times Union of Albany, which reported on the account. Few details, including the exact nature of the allegations, were available, but the woman's supervisor recently became aware of the incident, according to the article. The Times Union reported that the governor's council learned of the matter on Monday from other employees in the executive chamber. The woman, who still works for Mr. Cuomo, has not filed a formal complaint with the office, according to the newspaper. So now the other accusations that are out so far, some of them are actually incredibly damning. One of them, of course, was Charlotte Bennett, 25-year-old former aide to the governor, accused him of sexually harassing her last year. It's not like it was like, at 1997 when we were at a party, he looked at me sideways and then, slapped my butt, which would have been absolutely wrong. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be wrong, but like, it's not an older allegation. He's continued this behavior, probably was slapping people's butts back in 1997 too. But like now he's still doing it. All right. So anyway, now this woman, they said last year, accused him of sexually harassing her, telling the New York Times that Cuomo had asked her about her sex life and whether she had ever had sex with older men. Quote, I'm sorry, I'm going to have a quote here from Ms. Bennett. But Bennett, who left the administration in November, described one instance in which, when she was alone with the governor in the state capitol office, Cuomo asked her if she thought age made a difference in romantic relationships. Remarks she took as overtures for a sexual relationship. Quote, I understood that the governor wanted to sleep with me, and it felt horribly uncomfortable and scared, and was wondering how I was going to get out of it, and assumed it was the end of my job. Yeah. Now, another former aide said the governor had kissed her without obviously consent. This was a former staffer, Lindsay Boylan. Her story, she says her boss at the time told her that Cuomo had a crush on her. It said the government went out of his way to touch me on my lower back, arms and legs. So he's getting really grabby. In October 2017, during a flight back from an event in Western New York, Ms. Boylan said that Mr. Cuomo told her she should play strip poker. And in 2018, she said Mr. Cuomo gave her an unsolicited kiss after a one-on-one meeting in his Manhattan office. Yeah. So she said, as I got up to leave and walked toward an open door, he stepped in front of me and kissed me on the lips. I was in shock, but I kept walking. Another one is Anna Rook, 33, who said she encountered Mr. Cuomo at a wedding they attended in September 2019, and they began talking about a toast the governor had given. Cuomo then put her hand on her bare lower back. When she removed that hand with her own, the governor remarked that she seemed aggressive and placed his hands on her cheeks and asked if she could kiss her. Ms. Root said she pulled away as the governor drew closer. So these are just a couple of these allegations, and they're pretty disturbing. They're incredibly disturbing. And so not good. This is some pretty terrible stuff. Now, Cuomo, he's going to respond to this in a press conference. Let me give you some of that.
As a former attorney general who's gone through this situation many times, there are often many motivations for making an allegation. And that is why you need to know the facts before you make a decision.
Oh, so there's possible motives. Oh, really? Are you saying what, that this is all politically motivated? Is that what you're saying? It's rather Trumpian of you. And they're jumping to that already. Interesting. But there's more. He's actually going to go on in this address to blame, get this, cancel culture. Going full Republican. Take a look.
Politicians who don't know a single fact, but yet form a conclusion and an opinion are, in my opinion, reckless and dangerous. The people of New York should not have confidence in a politician who takes a position without knowing any facts or substance. That, my friends, is politics at its worst. Politicians take positions for all sorts of reasons, including political expediency and bowing to pressure. But people know the difference between playing politics, bowing to cancel culture, and the truth. People know the difference between playing politics, bowing to cancel culture, and the truth.
Cancel culture, everybody. That's all it was. Cancel culture. Wow. Seven accusers. Many of which we know of actually work for him. So, I got news for you. It's not really a political hit if they work for you. Like, are you accusing Republican operatives, or more like he's going to blame, progressive activists getting a job in my administration and then saying all these terrible things. Oh yeah, that's what it is. And they're trying to cancel me. That's what it is. Ridiculous. All right. One, you might think, okay, let's do an investigation and see what happens. But 7? That seems to be a pattern. There's a pattern that has emerged of him basically thinking that he can do whatever he wants. And that's how you can, of course, tie it to Donald Trump. You can talk about that, right? And so, like, how you tie it to Donald Trump is because you've seen a pattern with Trump, and now you're seeing a pattern with Cuomo as well. And so this is bad. This is real bad. Now, he's been called on to resign. Okay, so, there are a lot of politicians here in New York that have called on this to happen. In fact, what is it? AOC, Representative Jerry Nadler, Jamal Brown, many others have called on Cuomo to resign over this. But he's not going to go. He's not going to go. Again, he's going to blame cancel culture. He's going to say, well, we got investigations that are happening. But look, reading up in the story, he's called for investigations and created commissions before and then directly intervened in them when stuff that came out about him during the course of that investigation looked bad about him. And so, I mean, that's not good. This guy's not good. I think he should resign. And look, Cuomo has also done some things that aren't good. He stacked the Congress full of essentially Republicans, the IDC, if you remember that, so that New Yorkers couldn't get things done politically that they wanted to get. And so there's a lot of different reasons why this person, it shouldn't be in office. Again, if even half the allegations against him are true, well, that's already way too many. That's one too many. Okay. It's time to go. Like, resign. Just resign. Get it over with. Dude's a serial offender. Yeah. He's No, ATN. He was not the left's hero. He was the lib hero. There's a difference. We're a leftist channel here, not a lib channel. All right. Moving on here. Last story of the day. We'll have some fun. So it's pretty dangerous and difficult work being an Uber driver during a pandemic. And so when a woman who attacked an Uber driver in San Francisco for being asked to wear a mask was out into the world via a viral video, not a lot of people felt sympathy for her position. In fact, I'm going to show you the video here. that got her in a little bit of trouble. Take a look. Wow. All right. So, wow. Now, after that happened, she said that she was a little bit sorry, kind of sorry, but just a little. She admitted that in a video that she was disrespectful, but claimed the situation could have been avoided. Oh yeah, it could have been avoided, all right. In fact, maybe she should have worn her mask in the car. I mean, that would have avoided it. Just put the mask on your face. If you're going to be in a car, you're in an enclosed space. For both you and your driver's sake, wear the damn mask. But see, this is like a car full of Karens, essentially. And apparently they were, at least one of them could not do a very simple thing. So now, according to the police, the driver picked up these 3 women on Sunday, but ended the ride because, again, one refused to wear a mask. That's when the confrontation that you saw erupted. And so now in a social media clip later on after the incident, the passenger then gave her side of the story, saying, all I did was take his mask off and cough a little bit. Well, yeah, but it's a pandemic. It's a pandemic. You do you not understand how that could be construed as assault? And not only that, but it's stealing the phone. It's trying to steal somebody's property. All right. But she added, quote, I ain't gonna lie, that was disrespectful as F. I was dead ass wrong for that, but it could have been avoided. Well, again, yes, you could have avoided it. That's your fault. Your fault. But then she went on to accuse the driver of trying to drop her off in an unsafe neighborhood. I don't know. It seems like those women could have handled themselves. I'm just saying. They could have handled themselves. But here's the thing. I don't think I actually earned that right to be dropped off somewhere, quote unquote, safe by literally assaulting the driver over being asked to wear a mask. I don't know. Maybe I'm a dick, but I wouldn't be like, oh, are you going to be okay? Drop you off? Are you going to be okay? No, I'm going to drive away. I'm going to let somebody else deal with you. If you're not going to be respectful enough of my health, why should I respect you at all? Then again, she knows what she did was wrong, and yet she doubled down on it because on Monday she had threatened to sue Uber after they banned her for the treatment of the driver. Now, she then took that news and said, oh yeah? Well, you know what? That's why I take Lyft. Why? So you can bully the Lyft drivers? Well, apparently not, because Lyft also banned her. Here's what Lyft said. Quote, although this incident did not involve the Lyft platform, the unacceptable treatment of the driver in this video compelled us to permanently remove the rider from the Lyft community. Driving in a pandemic is not easy. Please wear a mask, respect one another, and be a good person. And by the way, Uber and Lyft, pay your drivers. I mentioned that it's really hard to be a Lyft and Uber driver. It's even harder, because the company won't really pay you that well, along with stuff like this. So I just had to mention that, okay? Now, the driver also said that one of the women had pepper sprayed him after they left the vehicle. And the man is called Subakar. His name is Subakar Kodka, and he's a 32-year-old from Nepal. They also said the women had yelled bigoted remarks because he's an immigrant. In other videos that preceded the altercation, the women refused to leave the vehicle until another Uber arrives. So sad day for you. And then he threatens to let them off in the middle of the freeway if they didn't exit immediately. So, look, I feel like the lesson here is don't be a dick. I mean, when somebody does a service for you, and that's what this is, Uber, whether it be a paying service, doesn't matter. You still, paying money does not give you a right to be an asshole to the driver. It just doesn't. Whether it be delivery drivers, cashiers, Uber drivers, it doesn't matter. Don't be a dick. I feel like that's the general lesson that you should take from this. Be a good person. Be a good person. Don't be a dick. Now, there's another, if that's not a compelling argument, then maybe this one is. All right. Now, after this blow up went viral, well, those fine young ladies are now wanted on charges of assault and robbery. This is according to San Francisco TV station KPIX. Now, the women, the suspects in Sunday's attack, according to the CBS affiliate, cited an anonymous police source. Police couldn't confirm the report, but told HuffPost that there's an investigation. And so, if they get arrested for this, I mean, karma, instant karma. We'll see what happens. Fun times. All right. That's it. That's all I got for y'all. Thank you for going on the issue today. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Also, Tempedan, thank you for the 1,000 biddies. Very, very generous, very kind. I love my audience, both on Twitch and on YouTube and Facebook. You're all wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all very, very much. So, y'all have an excellent weekend. Please stay safe. Avoid the Rona. And if you can, get your vaccines. I am still working on getting mine. I'm not exactly in the high risk group. I'm not exactly, I'm going to be waiting for a while, and that's fine. I can wait. But I will try to get mine as soon as possible anyway. So anyway, thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all later. Have a great weekend.
Tighten up my meat.
Please clap.
Give me a break.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Amazing.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door. Oh, wow, I'm sorry.